Look, it doesn't take a genius to come out and say that the Seahawks offense was not very good when they played the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. But we here at Seahawks Today, producer Reed and myself, Will Ortner, we have gone through the tape, and we think we've found the fixes to make this Seattle Seahawks offense back to what we thought it was going to be after that preseason game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you want to know what those changes are that need to be made, you're not going to be able to see them unless you go in and you like the video. If you don't like the video, it's just going to stay on this screen, and you're going to see my smiling face, and that's all it'll be. So you have to like the video if you want to see the fixes. All right, now that you've liked the video, I'm going to tell you how Seattle can fix this offense. And the good news is for our team, they're pretty easy fixes. You just have to make 2 or 3 little tweaks here, little tweaks there, and then all of a sudden, we're going to get this offense back and humming. Now, the first fix that we have to make, you got to pound the rock, man. What are we doing? We saw it against the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, you're going to be in the comments. I've already heard it before. But Will, that was the Seahawks 1s going against the Kansas City 2s. Guess what? The game plan should have still been the same against the 49ers. But for whatever reason, it felt like after Charbonnet got his 10 to 12 rushes, it was time to move on and just run the ball with Kenneth Walker. In my eyes, you can still go with the 2-headed running back system, but you got to stick to it. Look, no one agrees more than me that running sucks. I hate getting out on the Katy Trail out here in Dallas and get moving and grooving. But this Seattle Seahawks team has to be built with a strong run game because the rest of the offense opens up around it. And we saw what this offense is if you don't have your 2 main running backs pounding the rock behind this offensive line. Frankly, the entire offense gets very stagnant. Now, when you look at how both Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet performed this week, I wouldn't have a lot of positives to say. In my eyes, Charbonnet was fine. He ended up having a pretty good run for average. He got into the end zone, but he only had 10 to 12 carries in this game. You need to use him more. And frankly, I thought you could have used him more in the receiving game, but we'll get to that here in a moment. Kenneth Walker, 2 yards per carry. That's horrific. If you factor in his receiving yards, it was worse. Kenneth Walker to me was a major letdown. And now some of you might be coming to me and saying, hey, Seattle is fine. Kenneth Walker, he's still working his way back from his foot injury. Well, if he's that injured that's the performance I'm going to get from him on a Sunday, he shouldn't freaking play. Now, Coach Mike Macdonald is not as bullish as I am, or I guess as brave as I am, or as much reactive as I am, because in my eyes, it should just go right to Zach Charbonnet, and he should be the featured back. That's not what they're going to do. Macdonald's saying, trust the process, shouts out Joel Embiid, and we're going to continue this 2 running back system. In my eyes, though, there's still a way to be a 2 running back system and then just ride the hot hand. If Zach Charbonnet is averaging almost 4 yards a carry, then Zach Charbonnet should get the bulk of the touches. If Kenneth Walker is the one who's averaging close to 4 yards a carry, well then Kenneth Walker can get the bulk of the touches. Honestly, if both of them suck, throw George Alani out there. He looked pretty good in the preseason. There's a couple people in the comments messaging me saying, where is George Alani? Well, shoot, right now he's in a backup role. If we continue to run the football this way, I don't know that he'll stay in that backup role. I trust Charbonnet. And frankly, I don't distrust Kenneth Walker. I've just seen more from Charbonnet recently, and I'm kind of a what have you done lately for me person. In my eyes, if Zach Charbonnet continues to run the way that he has been, ride the hot hand and use him more. Now, we got a couple other fixes that we got to get to, but before we do that, we got to talk about today's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you could cash in. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I was playing PrizePicks this weekend. Trust me, I should have used the flex play option. Now, I've got a PrizePick lineup set up for the Seahawks versus Steelers game on Sunday. In my eyes, Cooper Kupp was a letdown. He isn't going to be a letdown on Sunday, he's going to get more than 37.5 receiving yards. I loved what I saw from the Seattle Seahawks defense against the 49ers. They're going to force a lot of punts this season. I think the Steelers are going to punt more than 3.5 times. And Jaxon Smith-Njigba, he did everything but get into the end zone. I think he gets in the end zone this Sunday. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Now, I've gone through the fact that you need to fix your running game, and frankly, you need to stick to it. I think at times that Seattle got out of their offensive game plan too quickly because of how well Robert Saleh was running that 49ers defense. But if you're going to run the ball well, that means that the Steelers are going to stack the box, and that means your wide receivers, they're going to have to freaking get open. If your name was not Jaxon Smith-Njigba, you were an absolute letdown. I'm talking wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs in the receiving game. When you have a stat line like this, most people would jump out of the room and go, wow, Jaxon Smith-Njigba had a great game. The Seahawks passing attack must have been phenomenal. You'd be incorrect because he had 80% of your receiving yards. At least that's what I'm going to say. When Sam Darnold only threw for 150 yards, Jaxon Smith-Njigba's got 124 on the game. Where was everybody else? Where were the tight ends? Where was our fullback? Where were our other wide receivers? And some people it's not fair to jump on. Robbie Oots, America's newest sweetheart, fullback position man, I'm not going to jump on you. There weren't a lot of play action passes where you got into the system. But wide receivers, your number one job is to catch the ball. Where were you, Cooper Kupp? Where were you, Tory Horton? I didn't hear who from you. I understand that Jake Bobo was hurt. Getting him back off of concussion protocol is going to be huge for this team. Dareke Young, if you can get him back and that hamstring's 100% healthy, well, now you have two deep play threat options. But this wide receiver unit has to step up and has to take advantage of opportunities that they get. Cooper Kupp had 3 targets in that game. Now, he made 2 catches, didn't get a lot of yards, but the one that he dropped was the most important. It was a crucial third down. Cooper Kupp drops that ball on a ball that I thought Sam Darnold put in the right spot. It cost your Seahawks the first down, and it led to San Francisco getting more time of possession against that defense and wearing them down. Tight end-wise, A.J. Barner made an incredible catch off a ball that hit a Seahawks offensive lineman and just popped straight up into the air. I still don't know how he ended up coming down with it. Other than that, man, where were you? Elijah Arroyo had a catch. That's it. Now, there were a couple of times where he popped open, but again, for Barner and for Arroyo, you were popping open down low where no one else was really looking. And frankly, at that point, on a couple of them, like there's one route where Arroyo gets wide open. It's a 5-yard route on a long third down, and Jaxon Smith-Njigba was open deeper down the field. So you got to get into your route quicker as a tight end so that the quarterback can look for you, find you, and get you the ball. In my eyes, there's a lot of people right now going through on Twitter with Twitter fingers saying that Sam Darnold was a massive letdown. And they're just looking at the stats. Oh, Sam Darnold had 150. Geno Smith had over 300. Sam Darnold's team lost. Geno Smith's team won. That must mean that Geno Smith was better and you didn't upgrade. That's my hater voice, by the way. And if you hate it, please don't let me know in the comments. In my eyes, Sam Darnold played well enough to win that football game. He was efficient with the football. He was on time with his passes. Now, he didn't take a lot of opportunities. He didn't take a lot of big risks. I don't know how many big risks there were. There was only one throw that I really saw where he airmailed it on an open receiver on a deep play threat, and that was to JSN, and they come back to it on the final drive, and he hits him right in stride. So if your quarterback's playing well enough for you to win, you can't let him down. You have to show up and be a primetime performer. This offense is going to go and have opportunities for big plays, but you have to take advantage of when those opportunities are going to come. This isn't a Ryan Grubb offense where you're going to throw the ball 50 times. You're going to throw the ball 25 to 30 times. You better take advantage of what few targets you get. Just ask Cooper Kupp. I know he'd be the first one to tell you he wants that third down throw back. Now, those are 2 easy things to fix because those are player-driven. It's a little bit play calling when it comes to the running game, sticking to it, sticking with a back who's playing well, offensive line playing up to their keys. But really, You're asking the wide receivers and tight ends to step up in the receiving game, and we're asking the running backs to step up in that rushing game. But the big key that I think needs to be fixed, and it's why I left it for the last spot, you need to be less predictable. Right now, when you're running that offense, felt like that Robert Saleh was able to figure out what was going on offensively and how to scheme up a different plan to stop it defensively. I remember when producer Cullen and I were watching the game here, it was like, wow, you were running the ball really well up the middle. And then all of a sudden in the second half, it changed. And it's because the 49ers made adjustments that you didn't make. And I'm not crazy on this. Multiple former NFL players, Michael Bumpus in Seattle on the Bump and Stacy show. Mark Schlereth went on Bob and Wyman, and he had this to say. This offense is too predictable. They both came to the conclusion of, hey, if your strong side is to the right, it's going to be a run or a play action to that right side. If it's strong to the left or the fullback is motioning to the left, that's where the run is going to be. Mix it up. You have to be able to run to the strong side as well as to the weak side. And you can learn from these mistakes. Just because Robert Saleh came in and out-coached Clint Kubiak on Sunday doesn't mean that Clint Kubiak can't out-coach the Steelers on Sunday. If Clint Kubiak is able to look at himself in the mirror and make the adjustments that he, the players, and Mike McDonald have already talked about making this week, frankly, we're going to see this offense get back to what it was. You're going to see what the New Orleans Saints were last year in the first 2 weeks. Now, you're going to look at me and think, wow, Will, you're crazy. The first 2 weeks of the New Orleans Saints? Well, that was an offense coached by Clint Kubiak. In my eyes, your game plan against the 49ers sucked. You wanted to run a lot of screens. You wanted to get the ball out of your hands quickly. You didn't stick with the run. Frankly, you were only running to the strong side. You got to fix that. But here's the beauty. And it's an old coach's cliche, but I'm going to say it here right now. The biggest growth that you make is from game 1 to game 2 as a team, bar none, because you see all the things that you thought might work, not work, and so you can make the changes on that. But more importantly, you see what did work and how to scheme yourself around your new strengths. You can go through practice and think that you have, hey, we're going to be strong at this, we're going to be weak at that. But you don't truly know until live bullets really start flying. And you had some live bullets start flying against you on Lumen Field last Sunday. Now you need to make those changes in Pittsburgh because right now you cannot be an 0-2 team. Follow me on social media. It's just at Will Ortner on X and on Instagram. Super easy to find. I'm constantly putting out video content that I don't always put here on Seahawks Today. Sometimes it's short. Sometimes it's reels. Sometimes it's my dumb ideas that I put out on X. Sometimes I'm going through and looking at Baldy's breakdown and I'll retweet it. Those are things you don't want to miss about your Seattle Seahawks. So make sure you head on over to both of those options, those profiles. Head on over to X, head on over to Instagram. Follow me at Will Ortner. Until next time, I'll see you later.